Hello and welcome to Console Shock, episode 78, Retro Modern Gaming Chat with me, Trev and Stu. How's it going, Stu?
Yeah, it's going really well, Trev. Absolutely awesome. I've managed to get my hair into a man bun now, so I'm hyped.
Yeah, you're kind of going for like a Steven Seagal at the moment.
That's what I'm going for. I'm going to put some... what's he do now? He sort of puts up black powder in it or something to... make it look maybe how he did when he was younger.
Extra masculine and dark.
Yeah.
Go for. Is that because you're like, is it a conscious decision or is it just COVID? Like,
it's 100% COVID. I haven't got COVID and my hair's grown really long. It was actually about a year ago that I last had my hair cut, and then we went into sort of lockdown and I was furloughed, so I just sort of sat at home. Then the barbers did open again. I thought, oh no, I quite like the look of it. And then they closed again. I thought, oh god, I need to get a car. Yeah. And then they opened again, and so I never really actually got round to getting it done. I think they opened sometime in mid April, but I've sort of, it's now at the length where I can actually sort of tie it all back. And hopefully it looks kind of sort of quite smart, but people don't know about my hair. I don't think that's particularly interesting. But if you do, hit like and subscribe.
You're going to get it all chopped off then when everything kind of...
I might do, or just get it tidied up.
Why not? Well, I don't have to worry about that myself, which is kind of good. I sort of nipped hair in the bud a few years ago now, so it was either nature does it or I do it beforehand. So it's actually weird because people have asked me about it. I never really think it would be a story anybody would be interested in, but one of the things that prompted me to do it, I mean, I've always had a receding hairline since like my mid-20s, really. And it was always something to think, God, at some point I might end up going bald or something. I'm not like bald now in terms of like naturally bald. I'll shave my head. But the thing that triggered it for me was I was listening to like a Steve Austin's wrestling podcast.
Yeah.
Literally, like he's got a few of them actually, but there's one that I was listening to. Stone Cold Steve Austin, the WWF, WWE wrestler, former wrestler, a bit of a legend, probably the biggest wrestler like ever. But yeah, he was like, because I remember him when I first got into wrestling in the early 90s when he was in WCW as Stunning Steve Austin, and he had a big like mop of blonde hair. His hair was receding, but he had like this very, very well groomed blonde hair, kind of in a mullet at one point as well, but he cut it down a little bit later just before he left WCW. But so when he was saying I think when he was either in between him joining WWF or just after he left WCW, he was like on the road doing wrestling shows, and I think he said he was with he was traveling with Dustin Rhodes.
Oh yeah.
They were traveling together because often wrestlers would do that. They would they would rent a car together if they lived in the same area and drive off to whether the TV was being filmed or the show was happening. And he was sort of like getting ready with Dustin in the changing room, and he was like, God, this is really annoying. I think I'm losing my hair, man. Like, I'm trying to come up with ways to try and, make it look better. And I don't know what to do. And I think Dustin said to him, like, just shave it off, man. Just like, it's a cool look anyway, And I think he watched, like Pulp Fiction, and he saw Bruce Willis in that, and he thought, yeah, that's kind of a good look. So he had a few months in WWF when he was the ringmaster, Steve Austin. Never a lot of people forget he had a weird gimmick when he started. He had kind of just a very, cropped haircut. And then a few months after that, he completely shaved it and grew a goatee, and that's the look that we all think of him as. So I kind of heard that, and it kind of prompted me to think, yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to lose it at some point anyway. I might as well just start shaving it, and that's what I did. And also hearing people say it's far less obvious that you're losing your hair if it's just shaved off anyway than if you have some stupid thing where you've got.
I think for you, Trev, and for, I don't know, it actually looks better. I think it's actually sort of shaving it all off. It all looks tidy, and things like that. And oh god, it sounds awful, but if I'm ever watching a TV show or I'm walking down the street and you see someone with a sort of a toupee on or a wig on, and you just put it straight away, and you're just like, oh god, man.
Oh yeah, it drives me nuts.
Just shave it off.
Yeah.
And okay, I'm coming from the point of view where I've got long hair, and it's the most annoying thing at the moment, where it's all hanging in your face, and you wake up and you got all hair in your eyes, and it's awful. So I can't relate to that, and but I'd like to think, well, actually, if you're losing your hair, shave it off. And you see lots of people having hair transplants and that these days, and I mean Wayne Rooney is a famous one, and
I don't really get it. When I started shaving it off, it wasn't because I thought I would look good, or because I thought I would like to have not have receding hairline and have like a full head of hair all around where it should be growing. But now, now I've done it, I wouldn't really want to go back. And I see people all the time, as you say, that have a really badly receding hairline, but they're still trying to spike it up or do a comb over or do some kind of. It just makes it look so much better. I'm like, dude, just shave it off. You look so much better. You won't have to. And you know what? The biggest thing for me was I never had to worry about my receding hairline again. That was the big thing. Yeah. It's if anything, it will do me a favor if I lose more hair, because I won't have to spend as much time shaving.
The point is, Trev, you'll get. Let's say you get on the tube, and you probably sit in that carriage, and you look to your left, and you look to the right, and there's probably 20 other guys who are bald, and they've shaved their hair as well. And you look at, I don't know, like Jason Statham. What's his name? Bruce Willis. There are so many, Samuel L. Jackson. There are so many actors who have lost their hair, and right. Well, let's shave it all off, and they sort of probably look sort of better for it, and it's just life, and yeah, I won't worry about it.
Lockdown.
Not that you're not worried about it, but I wouldn't.
Lockdown can result in new hairstyles there. That was a bit of extra.
Do you get the clippers out every week or so?
I have to do it. I have to shave my head 3 or 4 times a week.
Oh, you actually shave it with a razor, or?
There's this thing called a bulldog, pit bull. Sorry, pit bull makes called a skull shaver, and it's just like it looks like the kind of one you'd use on your beard. One you can use on your head, and I have to use that. But it only takes about 10 minutes, not even that. But you have to do it. I have to do it like 3 or 4 times a week to keep it sort of, looking tidy. It just looks bad if you let it get too stubbly. Yeah, you go through different phases, and anybody that's listening is kind of a random conversation that we're having now.
This is a video game podcast, isn't it, Trev?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, a lot of men, balding men, probably do play video games. So
exactly,
you kind of find you go through phases. Obviously, the acceptance of where sod it, I'm just going to start shaving it, and you have a phase of just having it sort of very tightly cropped. So you're not bald, but it's just cropped like you're joining, like if you're in the army or something. And then eventually you sort of get to the point where there's not even any point in having it like that. I'm just going to go all out, and then you go all out, and that's That's what happened to me. In fact, it was like an accident. I think I was trying to I think I was going to put longer blades on so I wouldn't completely shave my head, but I forgot to put them on one day. And I ended up doing one big patch. I thought, oh crap, this looks ridiculous now. So I ended up just doing the whole thing. And then I thought I should just keep it like that, and you get used to it to the point where you don't even notice it,
Yeah.
But that was pushing 4 years ago now that I started shaving my head. So, but you know what? It saves so much money with hairdressers, and obviously you never have to worry about your hair in terms of you have to shave it often so it looks, you don't have a 5 o'clock shadow type thing going on. But yeah, you don't have to worry about when you get up in the morning. You just get up and there you go, you're ready. It's stuff like that is what you appreciate from it, and also it just doesn't look stupid if you have a really bad hairline, and it's just you're trying to do everything you can to compensate for it, which just emphasizes it at the end of the day. So
I'm going to try and relate it back to video games now. And you look like the guy from The Hitman.
Yeah.
Agent 47, is it?
Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah. What other characters are famously bold? There isn't really many.
Oh, yeah. What's his name? God of War.
Bonk.
Bonk
goes around. God of War, dude. Yeah. Kratos. Probably Gears of War that I can't think of. Maybe.
Oh yeah, I'm sure the Gears of War guys are.
Marcus Phoenix has got a lovely head of hair, actually, isn't he? I think. Has Marcus Phoenix got hair?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
Well, that dude, not in terms of a game character, but is it Phil Harrison, the dude that always fails a console and then moves to the other guys and then fails their console?
Oh yeah, he's with Stadia.
He's with Stadia now, isn't it? Is it Phil Harrison? He's an English dude, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, it is Phil Harrison, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry, Phil, if you're listening. I doubt you are. But, yeah, he had one really run.
There's funny pictures of him sort of, at the release of the PlayStation 2 or something, or the X. So I don't know, something really... And he came on, and he didn't have his, quintessential sort of bald head that we all know and love. And he came on with sort of receding hairline, and he's like, the PlayStation 1 was going to be the future, or Xbox original or something. And yes, that was quite funny.
It's just the kiss of death, that dude. I mean, I think he had a great run when he was with Sony Computer Entertainment. Obviously, when the PlayStation 1 hit, that was obviously ginormous. And then he moved on to, I'm looking at his details. I think he left Sony in 2006 or 5. So just when the PS3 hit, and then he went to 2008 actually. So well into the PS3. But then he left to go to Atari, but that's kind of the fake. No. That's the fake. Sorry, actually Infograms that are still sort of trying to pretend they're Atari to this day. And then he went to Gaikai. And then he went to the interactive entertainment team at Microsoft, and he launched the Xbox One. Then he left Microsoft, went to Google. So yeah, he just bounced around and just absolutely.
I mean, I don't really. I mean, with the Stadia, it seems like they're sort of not bothering about it. You don't hear about it too much anymore. And I wasn't too hyped on the concept, but for me. Sort of, all you have to have is an internet connection, and well, hold on, why didn't this take off? Why didn't it work?
You're paying full price for games, the same price as what they are on PS4, but you don't own anything. You're not buying it. You're just buying a permanent rental, really. And obviously, it's a thing. If you go on holiday and you want to keep playing that game, you have to make sure the internet's good. You can, in theory, just put your PS4 or 5 in a bag and take it with you. You'll still be able to play that game you paid for. It just seems like Game Pass is just so much better, and PS Plus, because you can download those.
I mean, I think I looked, and when Stadia for me, it was like, well, I've got an Xbox One, and You know, I'm very happy that I've got PS4, as well. So all the games I want, I like to, you know, get them physically when I can, or get them in a sale digitally. You know, I certainly don't mind doing that. And then I was like looking at it, and I was like, okay, you have to have a membership, and then, you know, you have to pay, I don't know, sort of £40 for a game, and they never really, to me, had a sort of pay a subscription method that I thought, oh, actually, yeah, that could be quite good, because part of me thinks, well, I don't know, I'd like it if it was like something similar to Game Pass. It was like $9.99 a month, and you know, you download the app onto your smart TV, Bluetooth in any sort of Bluetooth controller, or you know, buy their controller or whatever, and then you can play, you know, all the games that are on there, and to me that would have been a much better sort of model to work with. And if you did it, so okay, you might not get the games on day one, but you might get them 3-4 months down the line as part of the subscription. Then that's something that I can't guarantee I would have bought it, but something I would have may have sort of looked at a little bit more seriously.
Yeah, just buying the games, you know, each, you know, one at a time at full price, just to get access to stream them. So that's not as good not as compelling an option as, you know, paying, you know, 20 quid a month or something to get hundreds of games, including the latest ones. That would be pretty good. You know, it might survive like on that. And the fact it didn't really have any like killer apps really at all. Also, you had like, I guess, Cyberpunk and things like that. But
then
again,
you could get Cyberpunk on everything, and part of me thinks about, you know, what if you're in I was going to say, you know, maybe sort of other countries where they can't afford, you know, a console, but then necessarily probably might not have the fastest internet for that. But I remember watching, there's a guy called on YouTube called Nintendo. I don't know if you watch him. His content's all right, to be honest. It's some of it's sort of quite amusing. But he's, you know, obviously with the name, he's very into Nintendo, and he was like, oh, you can play Cyberpunk 2077 on your Switch. What you've got to do is mod it so it's all got Android on there. Then you can download the Stadia client. Then you can stream Cyberpunk to it. And he was sat there playing Cyberpunk, and it was like, you got the Stadia version. Obviously, there's a tiny little bit of latency issues, which you do get with these online things. But it was like, I'm playing on Switch. I'm playing Cyberpunk. It was actually like, oh wow, that's quite clever, really.
I mean, that is pretty cool as a demonstration, isn't it? That you can, you know, be playing the game on your living room TV, and then, you know, you want to have, you want to go in your bedroom then because someone wants the telly. You can just keep playing the same game, without straight off. You know, it's great. That is a pretty cool demo. But again, you could almost say, you know, with Xbox, you know, you're going to have that soon with xCloud. I mean, it's kind of already going, but it's a little bit limited as to what it runs on at the moment. But if you're already playing Game Pass, you know, that's something you'll get as well as the game, as well as the, you know, the hundreds of games you could download. That'll do the same thing, but probably will work on a lot more things when they get it working right. And it'll be your Xbox Live accounts. You'll get your achievements and all that stuff still. So yeah, I just and Google were just a bit half-assed about it. I don't know why they even bothered.
I think lots of, you know, Rich from Review Tech USA. And quickly talk about Rich is whenever I watch any of his videos now, and, you know, he makes great videos. Rich, we absolutely love you. But honestly, I've got to skip through the first minute of half of him sucking on or going on about horses, or touching my nipples. Oh, look at me. And then doing slow pauses.
I don't watch like streams of anything. I don't sit there for. I can't watch like Rich from Review Tech USA for 2 hours talk answers. I don't know what it is. I don't know if he even plays a game. I think he just literally just sits there and just answers questions. But I think there's like his fan base, a big chunk of it is quite like immature and like quite young, I think. So a lot of weird memes pop up in those.
I don't know. You look in the comments under his videos, and it's like, and it's just all people. They're not commenting about the content of the video. Oh no, I agree with that. I disagree. There might be a bit of that, but it's all just him.
Yeah.
I don't know, all these like funny comments about him, about the things he says,
and jokes and a lot of in jokes, and the Rich Tomorrow theme is a big one that's basically just constant at the moment. Yeah,
exactly. And Rich Tomorrow, blah blah blah, and it, to me it doesn't really make any sense, but. Maybe I'm getting too old, but
he does like he starts every video with some kind of funny little skit of him saying like making a sexual like in innuendo, and I'm the same. If you point, I aim at a minute in the timeline, go there, and that's when he actually talks about the shit that he's talking about.
But what he was talking about was obviously with Google, I haven't really followed it. Is they haven't really delivered on a lot of the things that they originally promised. And I can't quote what those original things were, but I think that's where I think people feels like it's a real sort of bare bones system, even after it's now been out for 18, maybe a year, or however long it's been out for. So I think that's what's been, I don't know, the sort of the bit of the sort of the downfall really to for it. But I think there is a place for sort of streaming. Games and stuff like that, and whether or not it's the future. And I watch loads of Linus Tech Tips videos, loads of Richmond Review Tech, and all these people that sort of analyze digital family, and it's all about the latency and you can tell that you're playing a streamed game, and okay, ultimately, I'm not going to play online, but I just feel that if I was playing Stadia, a game on Stadia online against someone else, and they were playing on a wired connection, actually had the machine there in front of them, you're almost just you're destined to lose, aren't you?
I used to play. I had it. I don't think I ever subscribed to it, but I had. I used OnLive. Decent amount when that was around, which was basically what Google Stadia is now, but 10 years ago, which is kind of crazy to think about.
What was that like? Tell me, what was that like?
I mean, in those days, I would have had like I don't know how quick my internet, maybe 5 megabit at most. But yeah, it had a ton of games on it. I think it sort of streamed. Also, I think the high point of the video quality would be like 720p in those days. You could subscribe to it, which basically I can't remember the actual model that they used in terms of how you would get the games. I don't think it was a thing where you paid a subscription and you just unlocked all the games. I think maybe you paid a subscription and you could get a big discount on the games that are on there. But it was like sort of 7th gen games. Like, remember I played a lot of Warhammer Space Marine on it. I think I bought that on OnLive and like had it on there, and it was really good for like one thing that was really cool was like you could take clips. Like now, obviously, you got you can take clips on all the consoles, and it's been like that since the Xbox One and PS4. But that was the first time, because you couldn't do that on a 360 or a PS3 in those days. You could actually make a clip of the last 30 seconds of what you were doing and save it to your profile and share it and stuff. That was really cool. I played a bunch of games on that. I remember playing Street Fighter 4, and that was okay. And I never really feeling like, oh my god, this is so laggy, it's unplayable. Pro Evo 2011, I remember playing on there, and that was fine. Space Marine, like I said, it would allow you to as well. Every single game they had, it would let you play like a 10-minute demo of every game. Good. It was the full game. You just were playing it for 10 minutes, and then it would kick you. You could keep going in and playing it for 10 minutes. If you wanted, you have to start from the beginning every time. You had better save. But yeah, it was pretty good. You could either, I think you could do it via an app which you could download, and there was also a box that had a little like thin client box with a HDMI and an Ethernet port. that you could connect, and it had quite a nice controller that you would use with it. And yeah, it was like very much like an Xbox 360, and it was pretty good. I'm trying to see exactly what you could do. I remember quite using it a fair bit in those days. I had a PS3 then as my main sort of system, but yeah,
I think I was always inherently against it, and obviously because I had the video game shop, so it was always like, oh no, this technology is rubbish. Oh no, you can't play games. The latency. Oh, if your internet goes down, you lost it all. And that was always sort of my opinion of OnLive and all these services. And now I can think, okay, well actually they've got a place, but I don't really think the infrastructure's there. Well, I think it is there. I mean, if you have it plugged in via your Ethernet, you've got good internet. You know, there's no reason why it wouldn't work. And I think that what they've got to do is just hit the nail on the head with the right subscription model, and the right way of how to buy the games, and and things out, because I remember Game Pass for the Xbox. I'm a big fan of that, and it's literally every few days I'm looking on there going, oh, what have they added now? Oh, brilliant! They've just added Football Manager on there for the box. So I'm thinking, oh, I might download that. Actually, no, I'll be rubbish at it. But I've downloaded Dirt 5, and that's such a good game. It just feels like, okay, this is, it's like a rally, but with like a 1,000,001 different courses and lots of cars and lots and lots of stuff to go. It just feels really good to drive. And then I looked at my bank statement the other day, and I was like, every month a tenner comes out or whatever it is, and I'm thinking, well, actually, I've been playing Dirt. I've probably completed 10, 20 games on there. Certainly played loads of them, a real good amount to sort of get worth from it. And I that's sort of a really good service, and I'd recommend sort of Game Pass to anyone. I always want to see more on there, and sometimes I get a bit sick and tired of the platform and stuff like that, and I want to see lots of games on there, and Dirt 5 is a good example of that.
Yeah, and you get like the first party games come out on it as well, so they're games you would have paid £1 for. And the only annoying thing is, and it's understandable, and there's nothing much can be done about it, but some games, obviously, games get taken off it. So there's been a few times where maybe I've earmarked something and then I'll play that, but I've maybe forgot about it, and 2 months later I thought, I'll play that game now, and it's gone. So that could be a bit.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, describe it. It's like the Netflix for gaming. So I think it's a great little product, and I don't mind paying for it. And you see all the games that come there, and they have a real good mixture, and they've got the latest Pro Evo on there with 2021 update. And now it's got all the EA stuff in there as well. So it's even got Madden 21, and obviously the American football season's finished now, but that's something that I've always sort of liked, the American football games. I've never quite really got into them and played them enough to think they're any. Well, we always like to see them go, and they're always sort of quite a good benchmark graphic. Like a movement,
that's great about it. You get EA Play included now, so it's just a really good service all round. It's better than PS Plus, not by much. That's pretty good as well, but probably you could argue with EA Play that maybe gives it the slight edge. I think it's a great service. The only console that I buy physical games for, really, or the console that I buy games for these days is the Switch. I buy games a month or something for that. Not normally, It's probably my favorite out of all the current gen consoles, the Switch. I tend to sort of focus on PC normally for games generally, but in terms of console, Switch is probably what I play the most. It's just great to be able to have something you can plug in the telly.
I mean, what's your thought, Trev, about at the moment about I don't want to call it the silicon crisis or whatever, because
good name for a game.
Hey?
Good name for a Japanese JRPG, Silicon Crisis.
Silly, yeah, exactly. But you know, at the moment is you can't get an Xbox One, Xbox One X, or Xbox Series X.
Yeah.
And if you want to go down I'll go down the PC gaming route. Right. Well, all the new graphics cards, $399, the RRP, the recommended retail price, but then they're going for £800, and then you can't get the processor, and and it just seems like, well, you want to do all this current gen gaming, and then I watched a video the other day from Random Gaming HD in HD. He makes good videos, and he was sort of saying that, if you look for deals, you can get a graphics card that's 4 or 5 years old for around the £200 mark, or maybe 4 years old or 3 years old. And I was like, well, if you get the new state of the art one with all the ray tracing, if it was available,
you might as well.
For $399, and then I'd have that for 5 years. And that go into my computer. I might put a bit more RAM into it at some point, and maybe get a new hard drive at some point. But I was just like, what? Just look ridiculous to do sort of PC gaming. And the same with the Xbox Series X. I want to jump up to the next the next gen of gaming, and but I'm kind of like. Dirt 5 looks really good on my Xbox One X, and there's no real exclusive games that I'm dying to play. The Medium is the only one, and I'll get round to that eventually.
They're not readily available for starters, and we'll hope maybe by the time we hit March, April, that you could potentially, obviously, not go into a shop, but maybe do a click and collect or whatever you could do. But you don't be able to do that at will, but you still can't. So I don't know when I don't really know when that'll be possible. At this rate will be, it could end up being near the end of the summer or something before they're readily available, if they are at all at any point this year. Which is like, that's never happened before with consoles. Obviously, there's mitigating circumstances, but they want to be able to sell as many as they can, but they can't.
Exactly, and the same goes for all the graphics cards, the new AMD chips, CPUs. I don't know what the Intel processors are like, and so you literally just can't get any of these products at the moment, and unless you want to buy them for a huge amount from scalpers. And we discussed that in the past, and if someone's trying to make some money out of it, I almost feel bad for they got the opportunity to do that. I think I could look hard at myself and go, well, would I have done the same if I had the opportunity to buy something and then sell it for more? Potentially I would have done. But it is frustrating, and I'm not prepared to buy one for an Xbox One for £600 or £550 off eBay when new they're £450. So why would I do that? So I mean, for me it's just a case of waiting, and then I'll get one, and I'll be happy with it, and it'd be good.
Yeah, I mean, if it's different as well, because I got the Xbox One X, so if I was still stuck with a base PS4 or base Xbox One, maybe I'd be more enthusiastic because that's a bigger leap. But things are pretty good to me on the Xbox One X. The same games are coming out pretty much. They're just you're just dialing down some of the settings. A lot of games are still 4K on the Xbox One X, sports games and racing games. So, I'm not sat here saying, look at all these terrible, 2160p games that I'm playing at, a measly 30 frames a second or whatever. There's just not, it isn't really compelling enough. Very rarely is there a single game now that makes you think, right, I have to get that console to play that game. I don't think I felt that about a console in a long time. I'm talking about things like Super Mario 64, where they've got, I literally have to get an N64 now. That's awesome. Or GoldenEye, or, on a PlayStation, like Metal Gear Solid 1 or Grand Theft Auto 3 on PS2 or Soul Calibur on the Dreamcast. I mean, even like the 360 and like the PS3, there wasn't really anything when they came out that I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. I had to get that game. Later on, the games came out that were like, Grand Theft Auto 5 and things, or 4, would have been, and that would make you want to do that. But there hasn't really been a big launch that has happened where I've sat thinking, I want to get it just so I can play that game. The 3DS is pretty good, actually. I really wanted to play Street Fighter 4 on it. So that was one thing that was kind of what was a bit like that. But generally, no.
I think the PlayStation 5 has actually had a much better launch than the Xbox Series X, because on the PlayStation 5 you got Demon Souls, you got that new Spider-Man game, and then that came with the Astro Boy 1, and for me, I was like, actually, I think that the PlayStation 5 seems like a much better proposition to buy, just because of the games that are actually out for it and dedicated for that system. I'm probably going to get an Xbox One, and I'll get a PlayStation 5, maybe towards the year or sort of next year, but for the Xbox One, it's like it's only just had its first exclusive, which is, I think, the Medium. So I think I had an argument with someone on Reddit. That's not really like me, to be honest. And someone said, well, actually, I play loads of the Xbox One games, or the Xbox 360 games. Oh, and there's so much better with the fast loading. Oh, there's so much better, with the improved graphics. And I was like, oh, actually, that's a fair point, but it's what you were saying. I didn't feel there was the excitement of, oh, brilliant, there's a new console. Oh, wow, which one of the 10 games will I buy? Oh, wow, look at MotorStorm. Oh, that's a revelation in graphics. Oh, look at, when the 360 came out, Call of Duty 2. Oh, it looks so clear. It's got that great online experience. Or Project Gotham Racing, and Perfect Dark Zero, maybe to a certain extent. And you look at those games and you go like, wow, next level games. And
it was literally, the new generation was you were jumping over to was because you were getting experiences that you couldn't have in any shape or form on the console, like a Mega Drive. Seeing a PS1, you couldn't get those sort of games that are on the PS1 on the Mega Drive. It just was incapable of making a Ridge Racer or a Tekken or anything. The leap was absolutely ginormous between them, and to an extent, same from like PS1 to PS2, or N64 to GameCube, and then probably still with like going from Xbox to Xbox 360 when you're jumping to like HD, which is a big upgrade, and with a PS3 you'll get a Blu-ray drive with it, and and all that stuff. I mean, this is stuff that you could justify spending that money on. But then something like an Xbox 360, the point of entry was a lot easier because you could get a £200. It was like $209.99, wasn't it, or something weird? Like you get the core system, so you could jump in fairly cheaply. Whereas this, you sort of pushing £400. They're not even available, so you can't even impulse buy it. Well, it's probably beyond.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if it was available, I would have bought it at Christmas, and I would have been happy with it, and there wouldn't have been a problem there or anything like that. But it's just, I think this generation is, slightly higher resolution, slightly better frame rate, and they slowed slightly or considerably amount quicker. But the loading was never, to me, it was never too bad in the first instance. So from all these points of view, it's what you're saying is it's not a huge leap in gaming. It's slightly higher resolution, slightly more frames, and it loads slightly quicker.
Yeah, and also also for me, coming from PC, some of this stuff I've had for the longest time anyway now. The idea, I mean, one element is, having all your games like, basically consoles are moving towards, less and less having a disc that you'll put in and you're just going to get it from a download, as part of a subscription, or you bought it on a subscription. I've been using that for several years now with Steam. I don't have to dig out the disc for anything with that. I just load up my library, load up the game and play it. I can install things to the SSD on my PC, so they load pretty quickly anyway. I don't often really sit there, getting frustrated at a loading time these days. But maybe our generation are a bit more tolerant of them anyway, because we grew up on Amiga and Commodore 64 and Spectrum, where it was literally like minutes, things would take to load several minutes, if you added it up. So that's not something that I'm like, when people were like, when PS1 came around, the loading times on that would be much more than what people would experience now. I was like, oh my God, that loaded really quick, so, that was like, that we have a different perspective on those sort of things. And, I've got, graphics cards that can play a lot of games at 4K anyway, might not be able to get them at maximum, quality settings, but it's not so much. I mean, the probably the biggest like difference you would feel, I think, is in frame rates. If, going from 30 frames to 60, you can feel that, like literally feel it, because the controller is just, you're seeing the output of what you're doing with the controller a little bit quicker than you would otherwise. You can actually feel that. So it feels more responsive. So the benefit is clear. Whereas, slightly better textures and, maybe it doesn't dynamically scale the resolution. It just stays at 4K. Yeah, that's something that, I'm not desperate to drop 400, 500 quid on to get that at this stage. And it's also like, I'm also thinking practically with some of them, like they're big frigging consoles. I've got a small little unit that I sort of shove my consoles into, and neither of them will fit in there. And
I mean, I'd have to have a bit of a move around, and I mean, I've seen the I played on at a friend's house the PlayStation 5, and it's a big old hefty machine, and then you are seeing problems with the machine, and I don't know, the controller there are issues with, and things like, if you do a hard reset or something at the wrong moment,
it'll erase
everything, and you've got to redo the hard drive and do this and do that, and then you get it all back, but you've lost, I don't know, you've lost your save games, maybe you haven't, I'm not sure, but all these things, I'm actually sort of thinking, oh man, this is sort of really quite sort of frustrating, because it's actually sort of working in my favor. So I'm going, okay, well, I'm sort of forced to wait until they become available. And I didn't mention it earlier, but I got an email saying, game, you can now pre-order the Xbox One X. And I was like, oh, all right. Clicked on this, went through. Oh, you're now in the queue. Oh, now you can buy it. And it was like, I can pre-order it and I'll get it at the end of March. But I could only pre-order it if I bought an extra controller, a charging kit, a T-shirt, and a hat.
Yeah, you've still got to like jump through all these hoops for a console you've been out,
and then
nearly.
And part of me was thinking, well, I don't really want a T-shirt. I don't really want the hat. I don't really want the unofficial charging kit. An extra controller would be useful, but I'm hardly likely to use it.
So they don't let you just buy the base unit now.
No, that was it. It was. I think I scrolled down and there was one which you could only buy it, and you got the red controller with it as well. The really nice red controller, and I was umming and ahhing about that, and then I was like, well, I'm halfway through Dirt. I'll still be just playing the same game on it. So
is it a way you think they're trying to filter the orders so they can kind of try and keep the pre-orders to almost like a minimum, because some people won't be interested in getting that stuff and they'll just be like, whatever, I'm not doing it, just so they can try and mitigate the amount of consoles they're getting in.
Well, I mean, it's partly that's probably what they'll say the reason is, but the second reason is, they'll give the t-shirt a value of £20 or whatever. So they're making their money on the t-shirt, the hat, the unofficial charging kit, and the controller. Whereas actually the console, I doubt they're probably making £5 or £10 or whatever actually on the console. So that's the reason, more to sort of, make margin on there, because normally if you think about it, if you go to, Game, and it was Game that had this offer, if you go to the shop, then they're likely to, have you seen have you got your pre-order in for the new Halo game, or what games are you going to buy with it? And you go, oh, well, I need a game, don't I? So you buy 2 or 3 games, and that's how they kind of make the money. Or, what about an extra controller? Where I think with online, you're tempted to just go, I want the console, add to basket, buy. And then you're gone. You're not going to browse around and have someone to sort of upsell you. And well, potentially the things you might want anyway, but yeah, that's what I sort of tend to feel.
I mean, I don't think I'll get one. I mean, it is a thing also with just the space factor. I mean, people probably laugh at this, but I've got a very limited unit, like TV unit, that I use to stick my sort of shizzle in, and there's actually nowhere to put a
shizzle. You mean penis?
It's like a little like IKEA Xanax thing, whatever. It's Xanax, that's a drug, isn't it? Whatever it's called, Calax.
Heroin.
In there, obviously, the idea would be just to take out the PS4 and put the PS5 in, but it won't fit. So the only thing I could do is have it kind of just on the floor in front of the unit.
I've sort of thought about having, if I got a PS5, it's actually having it sit behind the TV.
Yeah, it'd have to be something like
it'll
that.
Be sort of behind the TV, kind of like hidden, because we've all got sort of big units. And then you have the flat screen TV on top, and then you've got actually lots of space behind. So you'd have it sort of sitting behind there, which would be quite good for airflow and to keep it going. So are you saying then that you're not going to get one of these machines, or next Christmas when there's a deal going, you'll probably get one? What do you mean by you're not going to get one?
If it was readily
be clear with me, Trevor. Be clear.
Yeah, I'm trying to trying to keep it to a big climax, So
that's what we want to know.
And they want to know about this whole me and PS5 issue. It's been an ongoing saga. If it was readily available, I probably would have got one by now. I don't know if I would have got an Xbox or a PS5. I might have got one, and then a few months down the line got because I'd want both ultimately. I've got a PS4 and an Xbox, but they're not. If they're readily available, I probably would have got one and worked out where to put it. It is a trivial thing. At the end of the day, you work it out. But to be honest, now, because I'm used to not really, not being able to get one at all, and just generally not having one. And to be honest, I've got so many games, and I still play a lot of Xbox 360 games. I still play a lot of Xbox from the Game Pass stuff. None of these are really making me want to think, God, I really wish I had a Series X or a PS5. The game that I played, the games that I've been playing recently, I had some credit on my Xbox Live account, so I got the 360 version of Grand Theft Auto 5 because I completed it on PC years ago. So I thought, I could get the achievements now on this, because there wasn't. It was just Steam, the PC version, so there wasn't any achievements. But so I thought, sod it, it's dirt cheap. I'll get that, and I was mucking around on that. I got I picked up Namco Museum Virtual Arcade on the Xbox 360, which is loads of old Namco games. That's really just a fun little thing you can play a bunch of games on. I've really enjoyed that. Got Metal Slug 3 on the 360.
Oh, that's free on
Gold. Yeah, from Games of Gold.
Yeah.
That was on my list of ones I was going to get eventually, but I've got it anyway now. That's a great little game. Love the Metal Slug games. And on the Switch, just playing Super Mario 35 and mucking around on that, and Outrun and Virtual Racing and all the Sega Ages games on that. So I've got so much that's kind of, and also like I've been mucking around on a lot on RetroArch on my PC. I've got AIM going on RetroArch, so I've been playing loads of arcade machines on that. Things like the original arcade version of Ridge Racer, which runs now very well. Virtua Fighter, the original arcade version. Some like old Namco, like original Donkey Kong. I was mucking around on that. I was actually playing on my Super Nintendo recently as well. I was playing like Super Mario World. I completed it not that long ago, but I wanted to give it just go through it again. It's just a fun game that you can kind of just not think too hard about and just play, those really nice games and you're in that mood. So yeah, I've got all this stuff that I'm not really feeling a gap of, God, I really want to play. I mean, Cyberpunk, I've got that on the PC. So, and that's not something.
Yeah. I mean, for me, is I want to play Cyberpunk, but I'll ultimately, I don't think you need a medium to high PC to play it, and then so part of me wants to go. Actually, I'll wait till that comes out. A dedicated Xbox Series X or PS5 version, and then I'll pick that up, and hopefully it'll be a real good experience. Because I think when the reviews originally came out for it, everyone reviewed it on the PC and gave it like 8 9s out of 10. Said, "Oh, it's a great story. It's a really good game." And then of course, a few days later, well, if you play the Xbox One version or PS4 version, it's actually a 4 out of 10. Just because it's crashing and all these performance issues, which it's a whole nother story there. I mean, that's not what you should do.
I mean, I don't know if there's like with Cyberpunk, like obviously, you could play that on. You've got a Series X as well, so you'd have a half decent experience. But if you're someone, I mean, obviously, we experienced like for us, like the 7th gen was, we're well into our adulthoods then, so a bit more discerning probably, but. I've played like lately things like, well, not so much lately, but Grand Theft Auto 4. I mean, the frame rate was horrific at times on consoles, and it was perfectly playable. I
love that game.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto 4 was fine. We were happy to jump through that.
We were talking earlier on. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, Trev. We were talking earlier on before we came online about how I was furloughed for 2 months last summer, and one of the things I sat down. I completed the Ballad of Gay Tony and the Lost and Damned, and they're both about sort of 8-9 hours long, and it was just brilliant games, great stories, great. And I think the Lost and Damned had a sort of a certain filter over the screen, so it kind of made the city look a little bit different, like you're looking through.
You played that, or did you just get literally on the 360? Did you play it? I think it's backwards compatible.
Do you know what? I can't remember if I played it on the 360 or the. I think it was maybe the Xbox One, Xbox One X.
I think it just. I don't think it like scales it up to 4K like maybe Red Dead did when you. I think it just the frame rate just is a solid 30 frames a second instead of going from 20 to 25, then down to 20, then back up to 30, and yeah.
And for me, I mean, I remember Grand Theft Auto 4, and the problem with the Grand Theft Auto games, Grand Theft Auto 4, Grand Theft Auto 5, Red Dead 2, is that there's such good games and so much thought goes into them that they're absolutely brilliant, and
they still look great.
And I guarantee when Grand Theft Auto 6, hopefully, touch wood, it'll eventually come out. I'll have that on day one, and if it's 50 hours, 60 hours, 70 hours, I'll go all the way through it, complete it, and it's an absolutely 10 out of 10 game.
Yeah, but yeah, basically, what we're sort of saying is, we had those games, those AAA games that were, some of the most famous games of that generation some of them had really bad performance issue. Well, I say really bad, but the games are still perfectly playable from back to front. And so with Cyberpunk, I think it's the same for for a lot of that. I mean, you probably wouldn't want to play it on a base Xbox One. I think it really, really struggles on that. But if you play it on a Series X, you've got a pretty good experience, I think. And there isn't even a proper next gen version. I mean, when you play it on an Xbox Series X or a PS5, it just maxes out the settings and just plays them with an uncapped frame rate, and that's it. But it's the previous gen versions that it's playing.
Yeah, I mean, part of me hearing that going, actually, the releaser, and it might just potentially be, okay, we've now released a Xbox Series X or a PS5 individual patch, and it makes it look better, and for me. Hopefully it's a great game. I mean, the reviews originally were, phenomenal for it, and people who have played it on PC have had an absolutely great experience from it, and so from that point of view, is I'm looking forward to it. But I don't know. I don't really want to play it on the Xbox One X. I think because you wouldn't get the full experience. So I'd like to play it on a high-end PC, or I like to play it on sort of the next or the current gen consoles, and actually it almost sort of feels like The Witcher did, where The Witcher had lots of performance issues when that originally came out, and then it was patched. It was lots of upgrades.
I think it runs better on the Switch right now than it did on the Xbox One when it came out. I think. Crazy, yeah. It's amazing that they managed to squish that down onto the Switch. But one thing that in terms of the new consoles that was really I would have thought was cool was the Series S. Like, there was a great Modern Vintage Gamer video where he showed like getting emulators working on a Series S in a fairly easy way as well. You don't have to like jailbreak it or anything.
No.
You have to turn on developer mode, I think is what it is.
And then you can download, I think it's RetroArch, the program that you use. And I thought, oh wow, that was a great experience. But I think that's great how it's this retro machine. But I wouldn't. I mean,
that'd be cool because obviously I have RetroArch on my PC, and obviously I'll just play no up to date like modern stuff as well on it. But I can the idea of getting like a Series X and then maybe just making that my actual RetroArch machine for what is it, 250 quid, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%,
yeah. So 250 quid, you can get something that can run basically everything up to GameCube through RetroArch, something that I have to do on my PC. Just for 250 quid, I could just get a decent sized hard drive, stick all the ROMs on that. I could put the whole, PS1 library, GameCube library, Saturn, N64, the lot, all the way back to Atari 2600. You could do all of that with RetroArch. And I think, go on, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I was because that goes back to my point I sort of made before. Is kind of like, you're doing all these things to make the Xbox Series S great for playing retro games, but then it's actually sort of what you bought a little while ago was the Apple Mini Mac. What's it called? The M1, named after the famous road. Named after the famous road. So the point is, for me, it's like, well, actually, it was. I think we actually have a better experience of buying a small form factor PC. Okay, it might cost a little bit more, but then part of me thinks sometimes, God, I wish I know a small form factor PC underneath the TV, and then I could stream illegal football, or I can do all this retro gaming, and configure a nice Xbox 360 controller up with it, and I can do a bit of modern gaming as well. So part of me thinks actually maybe that's the better option, and I've always had a little bit of a sort of bugbear against.
Yeah, you can get sort of small, like really powerful gaming PCs that are small form factor, like probably obviously not quite as small as a Mac Mini, but not too much bigger either. With a decent graphics card. I mean, a lot of them could just use a laptop, because laptop graphics cards are really, really powerful now. Some of them, the more expensive ones, are nearly as powerful as the most powerful desktop. So with one of them, you could make a tiny desktop. So yeah, that's a good solution, and you're not missing out on. You're basically missing out on Nintendo games and maybe some PS4 exclusives, but everything else you're covered. Even a lot of Xbox, what were usually traditional Xbox exclusives, are now on PC as well, like Forza and Gears of War and Halo, and so you're not missing out on any of that. Your Game Pass covers you for PC as well.
Yeah, exactly.
You can get on the Xbox version of it, but still a huge amount of games. So yeah, I mean, you could take that as a next gen route. You'll be paying a bit more, and the performance might not be as good, but you could wait another year, and there'll probably already be graphics cards that will be relatively cheap that will give you the performance of what the new gen consoles do. I mean, with the Xbox 360 and the PS3, that was the last generation where they had those graphics cards, and those you just couldn't do on a PC for another couple of years.
Well, I'd argue that if you bought a PC, I mean, there's all videos online. It's like, okay, I'm going to try and build an Xbox Series S. That's £250, I think, £299, something like that. Yeah. And it's going, okay, well, if you trawl eBay, you might be able to get this graphics card. Oh, and then you get this chip, and then but you've got to really compromise on the case that you buy, and then it ends up costing about £150 more. And part of me is like, well, for the price they are, the retail price for these new consoles, you're getting 10 times, not 10 times the power, but twice the power of what a relative or the same amount of money spent on a PC. And I think that's a true statement, and potentially someone might if you do this configuration, do that configuration, and then but with all the PC you can do so much more. You do word processing on there, edit videos. It's much easier to watch YouTube through a computer, through your TV. So there's lots of other benefits. But if we're talking sort of pure sort of gaming performance, and maybe the sort of the next gen consoles are even though they're like £450, they're sort of potentially a real bargain.
Yeah, I mean, it was the same, with the 360 and the PS3. I mean, you could get, it was £209 for the core console. I mean, you couldn't get a graphics card that was as good as the one in the Xbox at that point in time in 2005. It wouldn't be till about a year later or a couple of years later that those graphics cards, were available. And also by that point, they were, you'd pay the same amount just for the graphics card that you would for the entire console. So it was, it would be not many years, but a few years before they caught up. And the fact that they were able to churn out the games that thing got, well into like the 2010s, and until, it basically got cut off in the mid 2010s, was amazing. And you probably find that'll be the case with the ones that are out now. Eventually the PC will catch up. But I mean, with the PS4 and the Xbox One, they weren't, a massive leap really at all over what the PCs were doing. In fact, they weren't a leap at all.
No, they're very sort of underpowered, and I think when they came out, it was, I think a lot of people felt very let down, and there was a noticeable jump in performance, but then the Xbox 360s were 8 years old, the PlayStations were 7 years old, so there was an obvious leap in performance. But then I'm terrible for watching these channels, and they have the lines at the bottom. Go, oh look, it's at 30 frames. Oh, it's dipped down to 27, and look at what was the game? Just Cause 3. Oh, it's a train wreck. It's sometimes it goes down to 21 frames a second.
Unplayable.
It's unplayable, and and I don't really. Okay, is it really? But I'm affected by those things. I go, oh wow, no, it will be unplayable. It's not. It'll be all jittery and things like that. But in reality, it's probably not too bad. And obviously, we always want a higher frame rate. But
yeah, I mean, that's, to be honest, we grew up playing, 3D games on the Amiga where they're in single digits. The frame So anything above 20, you know, when we got to like, you know, the PS1 and the Saturn, you know, that was a huge leap for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Daytona USA running at 17 frames a second was like, wow, look how smooth this is compared to Formula One Grand Prix on my Amiga. You know,
slideshow.
There's a context to this stuff that, you know, gets forgotten a little bit, and we're spoiled now with games, you know. But
anyway, now they always show the funny videos of you know, here's CS:GO. We've put in a 3090 with 128 gigabytes of RAM. Oh, and it's got the latest Ryzen Gen 5 thing, and you get 720 frames a second.
Yeah, and it's basically frames just going into a sink that, you know, aren't really benefiting you, sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, that was quite a lot of chat about the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, to the point where we know we're not going to have one at any time soon. Which is
exactly, and I think we safely managed to not talk about the subject that we were planning to talk about, which we won't announce.
We're professional, Stu. We were going to talk about PS5 and Series X.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
That wasn't the subject.
What we talked about was exactly what we planned to talk about.
Exactly. It
100%.
We're completely professional. We plan these out in the letter.
Last thing, I'm going to ask you a question. Now, Trev, you've got a new podcast, which I'm not involved with, but I'm not too bothered. So I'm not the biggest fan of this. So, Trev, would you like to tell the audience about your new podcast and where you can find your new podcast?
I'd be delighted. So we had a gentleman on the show on Console Shock a few episodes ago, a chap called Al, who you recall from our the Origin of Console Shock episode. So we've actually decided, we've something we've been threatening to do for many years, but we've actually started doing another podcast, which is about, basically, it's a Star Trek related podcast.
Oh, geek.
No, yeah, because this isn't geeky, is it? What we're doing right now? But
no.
We've just been talking about frame rates, for God's sake.
Frame rates, yeah.
That's a totally mainstream thing that people down the pub talk about. It's a Star Trek podcast. It's called Long Range Sensors. Basically, me and Al, we just the main thrust of it is we basically pick an episode from the huge library of Star Trek episodes, 800 plus there is these days, and we talk about the episode. We also sort of cover sort of Trek lifestyle stuff about growing up in the 80s and 90s when Star Trek was sort of, I would say, in its glory days. About the toys and the VHS tapes and the magazines and the books and the CD-ROMs and all that kind of cool stuff. The Stormtroopers, yes.
Yeah, Stormtroopers, Death Stars.
And Buck Rogers.
Leia, Buck Rogers. Yeah, Thunderbirds.
Stuff. It's called Long Range Sensors.
Why is it called Long Range Sensors?
I have no idea. It doesn't sound like that's to do with Star Trek at all, does it really? Really need to get back to Al on that one. You could check it out, longrangesensors.com. Just head straight to that link. All the links to the various ways of listening to it are on there. We're on iTunes, we're on YouTube as well. I think we're on a few other things as well. I don't actually edit it or work out the logistics or do the heavy lifting with any of that sort of stuff. That's actually Al, the co-host, that does that. But check it out if you're into Star Trek at all. Longrangesensors.com. But if you wanted to check out Console Shock, even though you're already doing that by listening to this, how would you do that, Stu?
Okay, go to consoleshock.net, CRRSS feed. Also, we're on iTunes, we're on Stitcher, we're on Spotify, anywhere where you get your podcast from, we should be on there. If not, please message us and I'll try my hardest to get us on there as well. Also find us on YouTube under Console Shock and Facebook and Twitter. So if you just search Console Shock and you'll find us on there.
We are everywhere, yeah. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Thanks, Stu.
Thank you.
Joining us as always. And we will see everyone in the next one. Take care.